All right, guys, welcome to the show. I have a wacky one for you today. So I have some amazing poll numbers on RFK, who, of course, is running as an independent. You're not going to want to miss this. This is absolutely mind-blowing stuff. So we'll talk about that. We have DeSantis humiliating himself in front of Sean Hannity. That's a fun clip. Then we have Trump and his team considering invoking the Insurrection Act on day one. That's terrifying. And then later on in the show, we have psycho Christian pastors who decided to go after Taylor Swift. Seems like a bad idea to me. Seems like a bad idea. The Swifties are absolutely gonna come destroy you, son. So we'll talk about that. And everybody do me a big favor. Please click that subscribe button. We're trying to continue to grow the channel as much as possible. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us big time in the algorithm. So please, please, pretty please, hook a brother up with a little Subbington. And, of course, you can click that bell icon, too. You get a notification every time a video drops. And if you'd like to support the show, links below to Patreon and to Substack for Crystal, Kyle, and friends. Never had a conversation with an advertiser, so you guys help build this show from the ground up. $2 a month, whatever you want. It helps out massively. So thanks again from the bottom of my heart to everybody who supports this show. All right, let's go ahead and dive into it here. Look at this, guys. This is in Mediaite here. Shock poll, RFK Jr. is leading both Trump and Biden among voters under 45 in 6 key battleground states. Good googly moogly, y'all. Good googly moogly. That is astonishing. So let me give you some more specifics, then we'll get into, like, what's going on here. As many voters focus in on what they likely believe will be a rematch between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, the numbers show they ought not ignore the third candidate in the equation, as a stunning new poll shows Robert F. Kennedy Jr. beats both Trump and Biden among voters under 45 in the 6 swing states. So, I don't know if Cornel West was included in this poll, but needless to say, RFK is miles ahead of Cornel West at the moment. The poll from the New York Times and Siena College has drawn a ton of attention from the political press in recent days over its finding that, in a hypothetical one-on-one matchup, Trump is leading his successor in 5 of 6 battleground states, which were crucial to Biden's victory in the 2020 election. Biden's crumbling support among younger voters was one of the key takeaways from the poll results, but instead of showing Trump in the lead, it appears that voters under the age of 45 are consolidating around their independent challenger. The polling shows that in an average of data gathered from Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Wisconsin, Kennedy has 34% support base with voters between age 18 and 29, and he also has 31% with 30 to 44-year-old voters. Trump's numbers stand at 29% with 18 to 29-year-olds and 30% with 30 to 44-year-olds. Biden stands at 30% in both categories. That is, I got to keep it real with y'all. This is astonishing. These numbers are out of this world. And in some states, Kennedy is winning younger voters by enormous margins. In Arizona, Kennedy has 39% of the 18 to 29-year-old vote to Trump's 26%, and in Georgia, Kennedy leads Trump 35 to 28 in the same demographic. Biden still has some sway with younger voters in several states, pulling in 37% of 18 to 29-year-old votes in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Kennedy originally entered the 2024 contest as a Democratic primary challenger to Biden, but then, of course, he flipped and said, I'm going independent because the DNC's not being fair, et cetera, et cetera. So, guys, this is a big deal. This is a big deal because, look, we are looking at an election where, keep it real, Trump and Biden are both despised. Despised. There was a poll that came out the other day. Trump's favorability rating is 29%. That is miserably low. Biden is somehow still losing to this guy in 5 of the 6 swing states. You know, Biden's numbers have fallen off a cliff with young people, but also with Arab and Muslim Americans. As Biden continues to back the slaughter of innocent people in the Palestinian territories, Arab and Muslim voters are fleeing, and that's a very crucial demographic in important swing states. So he's in a world of hurt. He's in a world of trouble. He's super old. Everybody can see he's really old. They think something like 71% don't even think he'll make it through his next term. Only like 25% think he's mentally sharp enough to do the job. And on the Trump side, 91 criminal charges, 4 indictments, already found liable of fraud, bank fraud, insurance fraud, tax fraud, like all. The dude's a criminal. The dude's a criminal. So you have a psychopathic, narcissistic criminal versus a half-dead guy who can't string together a sentence and is losing his key base demographic. So in that scenario, it's sort of like the perfect storm, right? Because Trump and Biden are the establishment. That's what they are. Trump was president. Biden is president. And RFK, along with Cornell, they're running as outsider candidates. Cornell originally was with the People's Party. Then he went to the Green Party. They had ballot access. It was probably a good idea to go to the Green Party. Then he fled the Green Party, and he's running independent as well. RFK ran as a Democrat, said this isn't fair. The DNC sort of rigged it. I'm going to run as an independent. And it looks like, so here's my theory as to why these numbers are so high among young people. It is literally nothing but a fuck you to the two horrible candidates in Biden and Trump. I think that's what it is. I think it's like, hey man, I'll take almost anything else. So if you give me a chance in a general election, if I have the option of somebody else on the ballot, yeah, I'll probably go for it. Among young voters, I think that's what it is. I think it's the young voter equivalent of the middle finger to the system, saying we need serious, deep change. And then also, the Kennedy name is royalty in American politics. It just is, right? What would be interesting to find out is what percentage of these voters actually know anything about RFK, right? Like, I mean, his whole life was sort of based on being anti-vaccine and making those arguments and being an environmental lawyer, but he's flipped on a lot of his environmental credentials and climate change concerns and things of that nature, sort of pandered to the right quite a bit, doing the right-wing podcast sphere. And, you know, I think if you want to see an illuminating interview, go look at Crystal and Sagar interviewing RFK, and you tell me how you think he did. But Crystal asked him some very probing questions on important policies, and let's just say he's not in favor of the obvious answers. He's so tough on Big Pharma, but when Crystal said, so should we nationalize Big Pharma, he said no. Didn't even say public option, right? He's a big, like, free market capitalist kind of guy. So I don't think it's policy why people are supporting him. I think it's a middle finger to the establishment, and name recognition in the sense that Kennedy is a American royalty name, right? Now, I could be wrong. I'd like to see some sort of a focus group or something with RFK's supporters, but I doubt that it's that strong a percentage of young people. It's not like, for example, that many young people are like principally anti-vaccine. I genuinely don't think that's what it is at all. But now here's the other part of the conversation, which I think is more interesting. Does he have a chance to win? Even though these numbers are astonishingly positive for him, he still has literally no chance of winning. I don't want anybody to get it twisted. It's not like these numbers are amazing and, oh boy, that means he has a chance to win. No. Look, Ross Perot was the last serious independent challenger in this country in the 90s. And his 1992 campaign got about 19% of the popular vote nationally. Now remember, Ross Perot was a billionaire. He had the ability to get his name out there, to be taken seriously by the media, to really, have somewhat of a fair shake. I think he was even involved in some of the debates early on, right? This is before they sort of said, hey, no more of this. Democrats and Republicans shut it down. Any independent having any chance whatsoever, sort of shut people out of the debates after that. He got 19% of the popular vote. And you know how many electoral college votes he got? Donut. 0. So how did that happen? Well, I mean, very simply, guys, it's just like, unless you change our political system away from first past the post voting, then it's basically rigged against any outsider candidates. Like, there's literally no chance of an outsider candidate winning. Unless you move towards like, a ranked choice voting type system, in which case then all of a sudden it's a whole new dynamic, because then people will not view their vote as, oh my God, it would be a spoiler if I go for this person, because come closer to election day, people tend to fall in line more, and it's not like they vote for somebody as much as they vote against the other party. And so, even though his numbers are phenomenal, still like literally impossible for him to win. So then the question becomes, well, who's he helping and who's he hurting? And I've seen contradictory evidence. My gut instinct is to say he actually helps Biden more, because he has been in that right-wing podcast world. A lot of his core support was among those right-wingers. But now, once Trump gets to work on him, once right-wing media turned on him, and they already did, And depending on how he campaigns and what he says and how much attention he gets, it could flip in that he takes more from Democratic voters than Republican voters. It could be like a 50-50 type deal. You know, that's all yet to be seen. But these are phenomenal numbers, but he still has no chance of winning and probably no chance of even getting any electoral votes, which is kind of amazing. I mean, it just goes to show you, we need ranked choice voting, right? This just shows you we need ranked choice voting. But honestly, it could be the case that Biden should be thanking his lucky stars for RFK even being in this thing. Because at the end of the day, he could theoretically be the one to save Biden's ass. He could. So, I don't know. We're reading the tea leaves a little too much here, and, you know, it's kind of far out from the election, but these numbers are more serious than anybody ever thought they would have been, right? And again, I think this is just indicative of a pure hatred at the system from younger voters. And you know what? Younger voters are right to hate the system. I think their solution in RFK in this instance is wrong and kind of silly, because I don't think he's not going to fix anything, right? But it's a sign of that. And by the way, the most interesting thing to me recently has been seeing all of RFK's former core supporters turning on him. Because he is like insanely pro-Israel as they do ethnic cleansing of Palestinians in Gaza. And a lot of his supporters, he had this weird amalgamation of like anti-establishment right-wingers and left-wingers who were in the group supporting him. And then as soon as he took that stance, all of the anti-establishment left-wingers were like, screw you, hack, con artist, we hate you. And it's like, you know, hey, some people were kind of warning all along that this guy's bad news. He's not what you're looking for if you're anti-establishment and on the left. Crystal got in a lot of hot water and took a lot of heat because she did a good interview with him and actually grilled him on various policies. And then now within a month of that happening, people are like, okay, I guess Crystal was right about all that. Yeah, she was. Yes, she was. But anyway, he's still doing better than a lot of people thought he would. And again, I think it's simply because the Kennedy name is like American royalty. I don't think these people know that much about him, and it's just a middle finger to both Biden and Trump, which, keep it real, is kind of understandable. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.